"You're fired." That sentence landed like a hammer to my chest, but I didn't flinch. My name's Jude. I'm 28. And up until a few moments ago, I was considered the best warehouse supervisor Trevant Corp ever had. Now, I stood in Vincent Hayes's office, watching him recline in his leather chair like he'd just hit the jackpot. "Stay away from my daughter," he growled, his lip curling with contempt. "You're not good enough for her." I had worked at Trevanta for 6 years, rising from the loading docks to supervisor, pulling 12-hour shifts without ever complaining. The auto parts warehouse in Detroit ran seamlessly because of me. Hayes knew it too, but none of that counted anymore. What mattered now was that Claire, his daughter, and I had been dating for 8 months, and he'd just caught wind of it. "Are you sure about that, sir?" I asked, keeping my tone calm. His eyes narrowed. "Pack your things. You're done. Here, security will walk you out." I gave him a slight nod and turned toward the door. What Hayes didn't realize was Claire had already told me everything about his shadow dealings, the phony invoices, the non-existent shipments, the fake insurance claims. She'd been worried sick for months, terrified her father would get caught. "And if I see you near Claire again," Hayes called behind me, "I'll make sure you never work in this city again." At the door, I glanced back. He was all ready, tidying his desk, like I was just some disposable employee. Like the 6 years of dedication meant nothing, like my relationship with his daughter was beneath him. "I understand," I said, but I didn't. What I did understand was that Vincent Hayes wielded power like a weapon, hiding behind wealth and connections. I understood he would rather ruin me than admit Claire had her own voice. And I understood. He'd been stealing from his own company for 3 years, and Claire had the receipts. I walked out, head high, ignoring the curious stares from coworkers. 2 security guards flanked me as I packed up 6 years of my life into a cardboard box. My hands were calm, but my mind raced. Hayes had just made the worst mistake of his life. He believed firing me would bury everything. But he had only sparked the beginning. Claire was waiting outside, eyes swollen with tears, clutching a manila envelope, the one that held all the ammunition. We needed to bring down her father's empire. Some lines aren't meant to be crossed. And Hayes was about to find out why. I'd started at Trevant right out of high school, desperate for stable work after my dad lost his job at the Ford plant. The warehouse was brutal back then, heavy loads, long shifts, and supervisors who barked more than they spoke. But I stayed quiet and kept grinding. By 22, I was managing my own crew. At 25, I was running the entire night shift. Hayes rarely stepped foot on the warehouse floor. He preferred boardrooms and spreadsheets. He's the kind of guy who talked efficiency in designer suits, without ever lifting a pallet. The workers respected me. I'd earned it. Hayes expected it, just because of his title. Then everything shifted when Claire started working in accounting 8 months ago. She was fresh out of college, his daughter, yes, but not the type to act entitled. She asked smart questions, stayed after hours to learn systems, and treated every employee with kindness. When she asked me to explain the warehouse inventory process, I spent 2 hours walking her through it. We started chatting during lunch breaks. She was sharp, funny, and nothing like her father. When she asked me out for coffee, I hesitated. Dating the boss's daughter screamed trouble, but something about Claire made caution feel irrelevant. 3 months into our relationship, red flags started appearing. Over dinner, Claire mentioned irregularities she'd seen in shipping logs. "My dad says they're just clerical errors," she said. "Oh, but the math doesn't line up." I'd noticed things to trucks half empty, despite full manifests. Insurance claims for damages I'd never seen. Hayes started monitoring warehouse cameras more frequently, especially for specific shipments, making sure I wasn't on duty when they went out. "Don't worry," I told Claire. "Your dad probably knows what he's doing." But Claire kept digging. She had her mother's conscience and her father's sharpness. Over the next few months, she quietly gathered evidence, fake manifests, padded claims, payments never recorded in company books. 2 weeks ago, she showed me the documents, hands trembling. "I think my dad's stealing," she whispered. "I don't know what to do." I should have told her to walk away, pretend she never saw it. But instead, I helped. We sorted documents for hours, cross-referencing her files with the shipping logs. It wasn't long before Hayes noticed her late nights and probing questions. Just yesterday, Claire mentioned he'd been asking who she was talking to at work. Now, I understood why. Hayes had been watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. And today, he made his move firing me, thinking he could stop the investigation by taking me out of the picture. But he was dead wrong. Claire leaned against my truck as I walked. Out. The guards had finally let me go. Her eyes were red, her expression unshaken. She held up the envelope. I grabbed everything, she said, before he could wipe it. I set the box down in the truck bed and took it. Inside were 3 years' worth of damning record shipping manifests, inflated claims, and bank transfers. Hayes has been skimming from Travanta for years, I said. Fired me because of this, didn't he? Claire nodded. He figured it out when I told him we were dating. He thinks you're the one who encouraged me to snoop. We sat in the truck, leafing through the documents. What we uncovered was bigger than I imagined. Hayes had stolen nearly $200,000 creating fake vendors, filing false claims, and selling supposedly damaged goods through off-the-books channels. I thought he was just tough, Claire whispered. But I never imagined this. She wasn't just angry, she was shattered. The man she'd idolized had betrayed her, then torched my career to save himself. What now? She asked. I looked at the Travant. Building Hayes was probably celebrating. His little victory? He had no idea Claire had enough evidence to land him in prison. I'm going to make sure he pays for what he did, I said. But your job? My job was already gone the minute I became a threat. Sooner or later, he'd have found another excuse to push me out. Claire took my hand. I'm sorry, I never wanted this. It isn't your fault. It's his. You did the right thing. I started the truck and pulled out. Hayes believed he'd won. But what he didn't realize was that his daughter inherited his mind and her mother's values. She'd just turned against him. This was no longer just about a job. It was about justice.